Welcome. I'm so grateful to be sharing this special, precious time and practice with you. I will simply be your guide today, inviting you to join me in meditation and asana. You are the experts of your unique bodies and experiences, so I encourage you to, mosquitoes, I encourage you to listen to and honor your needs, especially since we're going to be moving through a sequence to support grief, heartache, emotional release. So, practicing ahimsa, care, and satya, truthfulness. If you need to stay in child's pose or shavasana or take a nap, please do so. This is something that we're going to practice, is really listening to what our body needs and being able to feel what the emotions feel like so that we can understand how they need to be cared for. So the flow today will be moving slower, feeling heavy in our bodies because grief can feel that way, and some heart openings. I'm sharing this from someone who is experiencing a lot of grief. I lost my mom this time last year. I shortly after left a long-term relationship of 6 years, and I just recently went through a separation with someone new who I fell deeply in love with. So these emotions are raw for me, and these are some of the practices that I have taken with me on my journey to healing, coming back to myself and caring for my needs during difficult time. We all have gone through collective trauma and grief in the past couple of years with the pandemic. A lot of people have experienced loss. That's in the form of people, loved ones, jobs, the way of living life. And so this practice of yoga is one that really saved me, and that's why I want to share this with you today. I'm even wearing mom's shorts. I like to keep stuff of her. I'm always wearing something. I'm also wearing green for the heart chakra. And I guess that's my little intro spiel. I will do my best to provide variations. However, I recommend starting any asana at 50% and working your way to what feels good in your body. And as always, please be kind to your minds and bodies during this practice. This is the purpose of yoga, is taking everything we learn here and transferring that to our daily lives, especially as we go through challenging emotions such as grief. So let us arrive here on our mats in your most comfortable position. I'm in seated Sukhasana. And when you feel comfortable and at ease and safe, feel free to close your eyes or find a soft gaze. In the spirit of ahimsa, care, compassion, non-harm, taking a generous inhale and exhaling gratitude for the stolen land you live, work, and play on, acknowledging the original caretakers of this land and how you can show up in the world to ensure that colonization, oppression, and violence does not repeat itself. In the spirit of Asteya, non-stealing or generosity. Taking a generous inhale. Exhaling gratitude for the origins and teachers from India who passed down these sacred teachings so I may learn them and share them with you today, and we may all benefit from them. And lastly, in the spirit of Ishvara Pranadhana, service and surrender to something bigger, taking a generous inhale. And exhaling gratitude for yourself, for showing up here, for your mind, body, and spirit, to strengthen your peace and compassion for yourself, and so you may bring that into the world. And we'll begin our practice with the sound of Om. You can join your hands together at heart center. We'll take an inhale and exhale for Om, for ourselves. And Om is the primordial sound of which all creation emerged. So inhale, exhale for ourselves. Inhale for Om. Noticing how that vibration feels in your body. And at this time, you're welcome to create an intention for yourself, your sankalpa in Sanskrit. And when you have it, feel free to start rubbing your hands together, creating new energy, the energy of that intention. And then placing it on your heart, affirming your attention. And when that feels good to you, I invite you to join me in Child's Pose. We're going to move through some asanas that at least for me, remind me of being a child. And the reason for that is when we are in challenging life situations, we can be triggered with difficult emotions to process, and sometimes that comes back to how we process them as a child. And when we were a child, we may have not been able to process those emotions in a healthy way, or we didn't receive the love and support that we needed. And so we're going to become our child selves and give ourselves that love and care we need to strengthen our resilience during our grief journey. So we'll meet in Child's Pose. Lengthening the knees out to the sides wide to create room for the belly, toes towards each other, and sitting back, lengthening the arms, bringing our forehead to the mat. Breathing deep into the belly. We often have shallow breathing just as we are, but especially when we're processing difficult emotions and stress. So now is the time to really breathe through the belly, nourishing your organs with your breath. Just surrendering to this pose. And when you're ready, coming up to tabletop. We're going to go straight into pigeon pose, sending our right leg up and straight and sitting back. Planting our hands, creating that heart opening. And if you have a pillow or block, you can place that under your knee if there's some space there. Under your thigh, I should say. Creating that heart opening. And what we're doing is getting a stretch in the hips. And when we stretch the hips, it can cause us to be able to release emotions, because that's where a lot of emotions are stored, are in the hips. So just a warning in case it happens. Breathing here with our hearts open. And we can release gently, putting the right leg back, bringing the left leg forward, keeping it, it doesn't have to be parallel with the mat. And if you had the block or pillow, placing that under your thigh. Heart is open. If it's more comfortable for you, you can always come down and just release, finding your fold. Breathing into the belly. And gently releasing, walking yourself up. Putting the left leg back, and we're going to gently lower down with our chest and then chin. And we're going to find cactus arms and bring our right knee up in a 90-degree angle. Our left cheek facing the mat. And this kind of reminds me of when you're a kid and you have a tantrum on the ground. So we're just going to rest here, breathing through the belly, taking it easy, giving ourselves the love and patience we needed when we were a child and when we got upset, soothing ourselves. Because as adults, that is what we have to do. There's no one else here to do that for us. And for me, losing my mom, I had to learn how to mother myself. I'm still, in my 20s, and I was very close with her. So learning how to be a parent to myself was a learning experience. I'm still learning. And when you're ready, we can release and find a stretch on our other side. Left leg comes to a 90-degree angle. Right cheek rests on the mat. Breathing through the belly. And this is just a gentle stretch in our hips as well. And we'll come to tabletop, shifting our left leg back, pushing ourselves up with our hands. We can have a child's pose, Balasana. Turn to tabletop. We'll cross our legs and find ourselves on our backs. Coming into Happy Baby, Ananda Balasana. So we'll bring up our knees up towards our chests, bottoms of our feet facing the sky, grabbing the outsides of our feet. If it's more comfortable for you, you can also place your hands on your knees. Now we're really a child. We're a baby. And we can just have fun. We can rock side to side. And this is just another hip opening to allow any stuck emotions in our hips to show themselves to us. Breathing through the belly. You can bring your soles of your feet together, rocking side to side. You can create check marks with your legs. I have some tight hamstrings right now, so this is that's not good for me. We won't do that. And we can slowly release. Using our core, we're going to bring ourselves up to seated. And we're going to start in Tadasana, going through Surya Namaskar. And the reason why I wanted to do repetitions and more of a vinyasa flow was because when we're going through change, it's very helpful to have rituals or routines in place so we have something that we can predict, something that is an anchor for us. And that is something that really helped me in the days right after losing my mom, was, waking up and knowing what I'm going to do. Because that was the only thing I could really rely on at that moment. So we'll start in Tadasana, Latin pose. Rooting our feet into the earth, finding a stable foundation, feet hip length, shoulder length apart, hands open to the front. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, hands through center, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step back to plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Or Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, Cobra, Bhujangasana. Or you can come up all the way to upward facing dog. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, curl toes under. You can come to plank and then shoot up to downward facing dog, or you can go straight, hips high to the sky, heart facing the earth with gratitude. We'll just stay here for a few breaths, letting out some sighs. You can nod your head yes and shake no. When we're forced to take care of ourselves, we have to practice setting boundaries and saying no and prioritizing ourselves. When you're ready, shifting the weight onto your left, letting the right leg rise, one-legged dog, or three-legged dog. Coming through center, using your core, stepping your foot in between your feet. However you get there, you get there. Doesn't have to be graceful. And we'll rise with our arms coming into Anjaneyasana. You can have your knee down for greater balance. But you're going to come up to Warrior Two. So, high lunge, Anjaneyasana. Lowering the back leg onto the mat, finding a stable foundation, finding your Virabhadrasana 2. Gazing forward. And we're going to flow through some movement, reversing our warrior, and then resting down with our arm against our knee. And this is just a way to come back to repetition and having some more fluidity. And you can experiment with mudra using your thumb and pointer finger representing the heart chakra. So that would look like in warrior. Coming back to reverse, you can have your hand on your back leg or behind your back. The top arm coming into mudra. And then releasing the right arm onto the right knee, bringing the left hand up in mudra. Using my breath. Letting it guide me in this fluid movement. Moving what feels good in your body. Three more at your own pace. Last one. And we'll meet in Virabhadrasana 2. Cartwheel the hands to the front. We can bring our back leg up a bit further because we're going to come into pyramid. Parshvattanasana. Still learning. Straightening the front leg a little bit with a micro bend so we're not getting too much of a stretch. You can use your blocks if you have them, finding a heart opening in your pyramid pose. you can gently release. We had the blocks. And slowly walk yourself to center, facing the side, finding our wide-legged fold. Sighing it out. You don't need to be touching the ground. You could be with your knees. You could have your blocks. Because we're going to find Malasana. So you can inch your feet towards each other as you, using your hands, guide yourself down into a low squat. Keeping the elbows pressed against the inner knees, finding Anjali Mudra. And all our bodies are different, so if you have a pillow or a block, you can sit that under. You can use two if you want to. Just finding balance. And we're going to move through Malasana to 5-point star. Finding repetition, going from making ourselves small to taking up space. Because when we're going through challenging emotions, we tend to make ourselves small, and I want to encourage you to take up space because you deserve to. So going at your own pace, using your breath, we're inhaling to rise, exhaling to lower. And you can, if that's too much of a drop, you can come down to goddess. Three more. Last one. And you can gently lower down, finding your wide-legged fold. We'll walk our way to our left side, framing our left foot, bending the right knee, straightening back into our high lunge. And when you feel some stability, rising and I'm not stable yet, or you can lower your knee, rising to Anjaneyasana. Finding Virabhadrasana 2, gazing over the left fingers, finding your solid foundation. We're going to move through the same movement. You can experiment with mudra again, reversing your warrior, and then coming down on your left knee. We're getting a nice side stretch and creating some fire in our core, our solar plexus, Manipura chakra, the energy center for confidence and willpower. Three more at your own pace, using your breath. Last one. Meeting in Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana. And we'll cartwheel our hands down, releasing the left leg to plank, Lower ourselves down, knees chest chin. Upward facing dog. Nice little heart opening. And gently lower yourself down to the mat. We're going to meet on our backs and find Matsyasana, fish pose, for heart opening. And if you have a block, you can use that or a pillow. And we're going to place that between our shoulder blades. And our head will either come all the way down, or you can have another pillow or block to protect your neck. Our hands will rest by our sides, or they can come into cactus arms for a deeper stretch in the Anahata chakra. If you don't have a pillow or a block, you're going to find yourself with your elbows and lower your crown to the mat, finding a back bend. We're going to stay here for a few breaths, so get comfortable. It might not be the most comfortable, and feeling our emotions isn't the most comfortable, but it's necessary in order for us to, 1, acknowledge them, 2, accept them, and then 3, finally process them so they can be released. And it's not like our grief will ever go away. We'll always have the pain of losing someone important to us. But if we can do our best in living with an open heart and staying open to the beautiful blessings that this world has to offer, then it makes life not so hard. You can surrender to something bigger, which is the purpose of yoga. And yoga can really help facilitate this process of surrendering. I encourage you to feel any emotions that arise, accepting them for what they are, allowing them to be as they are. Remembering to breathe. It feels so good, I don't want to get out. We'll gently release. If you have a blocker pillow, slowly remove, and protecting your spine, rolling down slowly. You can hug your knees towards your chest. finding a gentle rock to massage the lower back. Cross your legs, using your core to come up, and we'll meet in Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. Having the soles of the feet together. You can place blocks or pillows underneath your knees if there's some space and you want to rest. Find a gentle forward fold just to counter our back bend. No need to force anything that doesn't feel good for you. In life, we tend to force ourselves into jobs, relationships. So let's practice listening to our bodies and our needs, and not doing anything that's harmful. Having compassion for ourselves, ahimsa. And paying attention to our truth, satya. Gently rise, spine straight, and butterflies represent, a lot of people say, oh, you'll receive sign from your loved one if you see a butterfly. And this also reminds me of when I was in gymnastics when I was younger. We would, at the end of the class, say, okay, where do we want to go today? So I want to ask you, where do you want to go from here? Butterflies are a beautiful metaphor for life, the cycle of it, death and rebirth. And it's a reminder that through your transformation of change, there's always something beautiful to come out of it. It's not easy, but the process of accepting and surrendering and staying open to opportunities is always worth it. Growth is always worth it. So if you'd like to join me in our final pose, Sukhasana, on our backs. Reconnecting with our intention, with the present moment. I just want to acknowledge you for being here. I'm sending you a lot of love and care during this difficult time. And I appreciate you for taking this step and caring for yourself. One of my favorite sayings about grief is that grief is just love with no place to go. And so we can use our asana practice by opening our hearts to help us release some of that love out into the world. Release that love into ourselves. You can place one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. And you can stay laying in Shavasana, or you can curl yourself over to your favorite side. And one last pose like a child, fetus position, giving yourself the love and care you need. Thanking yourself for taking care of yourself in this moment. Using your hands to press you up into seated Sukhasana. And we'll close the practice with the sound of Om. Bringing our hands to heart center. Inhale, exhale for yourselves. Inhale for Om. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be free of suffering. May they be happy and free. And may my thoughts, words, and actions contribute to that in some way for all. Thank you so much.